Hey there, it's Gel. It's been a hot minute. I haven't really been around much in the last couple of months, but I just wanted to do a quick tier list on Pokemon because I've been saying I really wanted to be doing these. So without further ado, let's get into this. Doom. I think Gen 1's a solid 6 out of 10 kind of thing. It's a good experience. It's kind of just lacking compared to the others. I still really enjoy it. It's just obviously aged. But I think that Gen 2, oops, I'm gonna just take the ones that I've played, by the way, or my preference. So technically preference would be this. Um, yeah, I'm a Lugia boy. Um, yeah, I think the upgrade from Gen 1 to Gen 2 is kind of staggering in the precedent you should take from a generation upgrade because it took what was a kind of very basic RPG and turned it into kind of a returning RPG, like an MMO kind of. It sounds a bit of a stretch, but like it gave daily events, timed events. It makes you want to come back, do your dailies. It's kind of awesome, and it kind of added a bit more story elements. Some in this element, post game battle tower. It set the precedent for cover legendaries, and I don't think that can be understated. It was a great step in the right direction. I think the sheer scale of the game is incredible. Gen 2 is done, so Gen 3 I will put here. So I'll start with Fire because that's quite straightforward. I think it applies what is Gen 3 in a fantastic way. The gameplay engine, how fast it is, the graphics, makes Gen 1 a lot more playable and was a good starting point for remakes because it added in a lot of content, like the Sevi Islands, obviously the Johto Pokemon, and it started making Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald feel like a complete trilogy in a way because they all kind of complemented each other with the Pokemon that you're available with. And to speak on Ruby and Sapphire and Emerald, Gen 3 is my favourite, I will admit that. But the thing with Ruby versus Emerald, I love the region, but Emerald added in a lot of content in a way that there was a jump between these two. There's a jump between Root. There's a significant jump again. With the battle factory, sorry, the battle frontier, the ability to get all the legendaries, it's just like wow. Bit more cutscenes, two evil teams, added dungeons, uh, Kanto and Johto Pokemon. It felt huge in a region that was already huge and felt really like a definitive edition. And I don't think the changes are very obvious to the eye a lot of the time, but it does feel very satisfying. Like the Pokénav was introduced, which is a recurring element, returning element from Gen 2. It basically felt like Gen 1 was Gen 3 Ruby Sapphire was a reboot, and Emerald was the culmination of Gen 2 elements in there, which is saying a lot. You may see I hesitate to put Platinum in S there. I unfortunately don't have as big of a fan spot for um, Gen 4. I like the region. I love the Pokemon variety. The music's great. It just the pacing of the game really kills it for me. So if I want to just spend like a bit of time playing, I get a bit bored playing Gen 4, which isn't saying anything against Gen 4 because I feel like when remakes hopefully happen this year, it's gonna be great, and I would love that. I think Platinum does a similar upgrade from Ruby Sapphire to Emerald, and genuinely gave a lot of content. Like obviously the battle, I can we call it a factory? That's weird. Frontier returned, gave the looker missions, which kind of became a staple. It added a distortion world, which is awesome, and it definitely showed that Pokemon was getting better. Like it was showing you that hey, these third versions are really good compared to the base ones. Like when you look at these Gen 1 versus Gen 2 on the third versions, I don't feel much difference. But Gen 3 and 4, you feel a huge difference. Gen 5 I'm gonna split into two parts. Um, where's two? Wow, they're both an S tier. They're both an S tier for different reasons. Let's start with white one. So, Black and White 1 surprised me at how solid of a game it is. It took the Gen 1 core experience and just ramped it up to 100. It fine tuned it, refined it. Great region. Was it linear? So what? But it had a good story for Pokemon standards, and the variety of Pokemon available made it so I never got bored, and I just got really into it in a way I never got into another Pokemon game's main game. And Black and White 2 kind of continues the polish that Gen 5 started with not as good of a story. Or it's not the end of the world. To be honest, like the story is honestly means to the end in these games. And it was solid enough, but the world felt huge and the gameplay is fantastic. The variety of Pokemon is fantastic. The God, I love the music. The only thing I would actually put White One over White 2 simply because I kind of loved the structuring of White One and how it distributed. That's the word. How it distributed the Pokemon throughout it, and I can't really. It's a coin flip a lot of the time between these two because when I played White 2 last year, I adored it. Last year it was 2019. 2020 was a long year. Yeah, I may have also neglected to include the what is considered the definitive, the best remakes. Yeah, you're gonna think I'm strange for putting these in a tier below Gold, Silver, Crystal, which is very fair because they are better games. It's just literally the fact that it's in the Gen 4 engine. I think if it had been the Gen 3 engine or the Gen 5 engine, I think it would be S tier because it does a lot of things right. It takes the like side content from Gen 2 and gives it a so basically it's genuinely just a good experience. It's just held back by the Gen 4 limitations. And I honestly have a lot of nostalgia uh, bias towards the originals, which is very fair. And it'll always be like that for me. I never actually did the Pokathlon stuff, so I may do that one day. Um, honestly, you look at that so far for the first 5 gens, and it's really high up there. Is it nostalgia? Potentially, possibly. I would argue probably not because I didn't play Gen 5 until 2018. That's actually true. The order I played these in is 3, 2, 1, 4, then 6 because I skipped for a while after that. Then 5, 7, and 8. Because got the same feeling when I replayed Soul Silver last year that I was like, I need a break from playing Pokemon after it. And I had that at the exact time when I played it on release. So that's obviously an issue that the game has. Which is, again, that's why it's in A tier, not S tier for me. Now, I know a lot of people put X and Y above Gen 1 just for the fact that Gen 1 doesn't work. I tend to go on. I can enjoy a broken game. If you look at the rest of my channel, I've done Sonic 06 speedruns, so who's to say a broken game is automatically a worse game? Heck, even if Cyberpunk's any good, I'm gonna get around to playing that, so I can give my thoughts on that. I think the thing with Gen 6, it felt very by the books. Because the only thing I particularly liked in that game, the Megas look fantastic, and I like the friend dynamic you have. It was like a little group, felt lively. The issue I had with Gen 6 is difficulty to the point where the game felt kind of brain dead, and two, the region structuring, and it was just very boring. People do say there is a lot of Gen 1 references to the point where it's like If it wasn't Pokemon, it'd be like plagiarism. But I just kind of got bored playing Gen 6, and that's probably not a good sign. Whereas even with Gen 1 Yellow, I can get a little bit of fun out of it. I can have a good time with it for for a main game. Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire. Now you'd be thinking, but you put Soul Silver below. Yes, because I don't think this is as good as Emerald, but I think it's better than base Ruby Sapphire. Because it's just Gen 6 versions of Gen 3. It's not really. It's good. It's just held back by the Gen 6 issues that come from difficulty in gifting. Because I do think that they gave too many Pokemon to you without accounting for it in the difficulty spike. Because, oh, let's say you have a Latios Mega. Yeah, cool. Levels of the trains are still the same, so the game's a cakewalk. The Megas are fantastic though. I like the cutscenes, I like the primals, the new Megas, being able to soar around in the sky and find all the Mirage Islands, which is a great reference to the Gen 3 Jirachi stuff. Post game was pretty solid. Delta episode is good, and it's got a lot of legendaries, which honestly, it's the first game. It was the first game that actually had like a truckload of legendaries, which has kind of been the staple of like the third versions or the remakes from now on. I think overall it's a solid game. Like, it's very telling that like I think all three remakes A tier. That's actually kind of amazing. We do have one more remake though to bring out, and I think for Gen 7, I'm gonna just basically outright say, oops, wrong one. I only play the Moon games. I have a similar kind of experience with Gen 5, but not as good. Because I do like these games. They're just games you can't replay because how many cutscenes there are and the pacing of the games are so poorly done. To the point you can't really just play the Pokemon stuff without being dragged through the trials. Because I think Moon has a decent enough plot. I like the Lucamine stuff. It felt very Pokemon XD-esque. But the pacing of it kind of really wore back and kind of just dragged it down. It was still pretty fun though. I do like the region quite a bit and the music. I went into Gen 7 being like, this is going to be really bad, and it was alright. But could that be an expectations issue? Who knows? Because when I played Ultra Moon, I went in the expectation of enjoying it because I really liked Moon. But I felt like that game's story fell flat on its face, and the gameplay was significantly better, which kind of, if you took it's a one positive, one negative, evens itself out. Because I like the whole Ultra Recon stuff, but then they ditched the Lucamine being evil or crazy plotline for Ultra Necrozma, which is cool because it sets the precedent of, hey, it has to have a super boss. But then, and it also gave like the Rotom buffs and so on, and it gave the Rainbow Rocket stuff. It had a lot gameplay wise, but took away story wise, which is why it's a balance. Adding to the B tiers, let's go. I don't think it's as good as Fire Leaf Green simply because of the lack of content. It's a very charming game, and it's like pretty fun to play for quite a while because the go mechanics are quite fun. They do get wearing after a while when you're just trying to grind and level up Pokemon, but it's still quite fun for what it is. It's just like a reimagining of Gen 1 that actually functions properly. If they did a Gen 2 version of Let's Go, I probably would feel exactly the same, probably be B tier, A tier, because yeah, I'm a nostalgic bias person, unfortunately. So we're left with one more, and I don't know where to go with this one. Because if we're talking about the base game, it's straight there. Because as much as I like the wild area and the idea of it, the game's nothing. There is nothing in the game. the roots are nothing. Like the way I explain with nothing is that they're so forgettable. They're a non-event. The story's a non-event. It felt like a game that just went, "Hey, our soul is the wild area," and it's really fun for the first 20 minutes because the idea of like, "Oh, that Pokemon, oh, that one," it's great, but like it wears itself super thin, which is a shame because it obviously was the first Switch home release. But if we're talking about the DLC, that's another story. It's a crazy jump that because I played both DLCs in one day when they came out because I got a sudden urge to play them. And the first one, I think, is the Isle of Armor. Yes, Isle of Armor. Isle of Armor. Yeah. It was pretty solid. It was genuinely quite fun and just felt fresh. It felt natural, but like it had a natural story to it. And it just had a good level design compared to the other. It didn't feel like just an open box. It felt like you had areas to explore, and oh, it definitely distributed Pokemon a lot better. Because my main complaint with the world area is just in the base game is the poor distribution of Pokemon. It's just like you have to wait for specific weathers. It's not the best. Whereas here it's like a lot more a lot more variety. So you can find a lot more. It just keeps your interest a lot more. The storyline stuff, the main content for that was alright. And the fact that it's alright is a significant step up from the non-event of Sword and Shield. But where the DLC truly shines is the Crown Tundra because I feel like that's the best, genuinely the best content that's been produced since Gen 5. It was an enjoyable story, a really cool area. The main story stuff was really cool with like getting the three legendary birds, the new forms, the chasing was great, the music was great. It definitely felt like they were finding the direction because when you go through the Crown Tundra and all the areas, it felt like what I wanted from Gen 8, what I wanted from the roots, and what I really hope Gen 4 remakes are like because that would be absolutely adoring to me. So if I say that's a D tier for base game and an A, it would be kind of in between. So from that, I'm gonna just end up saying I'm putting it here, which I feel bad putting it because of how much I loved the Crown Tundra. But that's like a recency bias. Yeah, recency bias is gonna win. There we go. Yeah, I think that's very. No, I can't do it. I can't. I enjoy Gen 1 more. Um, I, I am very hopeful for Gen 4 remakes. I would be. If Gen 4 remakes were at least a B tier, that would be genuinely solid. Anyway, that's like a quick tier listing. Hope you enjoyed. I'll be doing some more content soon. I've just been having a lot of IRL stuff happening and depression. Whoopsie. I'll be back soon. Take care, y'all. It's the Gel 2 from the It's Talking then. Au revoir.